All right, and welcome into the Betting Pros College Football Show. We've got Maction rolling midweek and a full weekend of college football on deck for you. It's a beautiful time to be alive, and we are absolutely psyched you're here for a Week 13 Picks and Predictions episode. I'm your host, Seth Woolcock. I've already got a handful of bets down in anticipation for the weekend. I'm joined by a guy who I'm sure was saying nothing negative at all on the internet last night about the college football playoff rankings release. The heel of this particular program, Terrell Furman Jr. How are we doing today, man?
Oh, man. I mean, I don't know why. I've always wondered why they release rankings. Like, why do you release the rankings? Because you're going to be wrong. You're always going to be wrong.
They don't even do
Until
the bracket.
the end of the season. Huh?
ESPN does the bracket is what we just learned as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no point. You're wrong. You're wrong. Every time you're wrong. We see one of these teams get knocked out every single time. Stop wasting our time with this. You're like, maybe, okay, have like some type of like, I don't know. It just feels like they just force this on us. And every single time I'm frustrated because I'm looking at this and I'm like, why are these teams that have not proven anything so high up the rankings? But nonetheless, shout out to Texas. Getting it done against Arkansas. Let's go, Texas. Yes, horns up. Get it done.
Win to win, baby. Let's go.
Yeah. Shout out to Arkansas for that cover. Amazing. A horrible game, by the way, I should say.
It was.
Horrible
It was
game by Arkansas.
Game. Yep.
I can always count on Terrell to bring a little bit of toxicity to the program, so I appreciate you for that. And I'm also joined.
Seth, wait, your time is coming later on the show.
Okay, I'm ready. We're also joined by our Texas native Yinzer by way of sport, Scott Bogman. Boggs, how are you feeling a few days removed from our early lines episode?
Yeah, I feel like there have been enormous shifts in these games in terms of bettors. And I checked this morning and then 15 minutes ago, and there have been giant shifts from this morning in where the money is going. So I feel like the market really doesn't know what way they want to go on a lot of these games. Obviously, if there have been some injuries in the first game we'll talk about here. But yeah, there's been some weird shifts here. But come on, Terrell, you know why they put out these rankings in these shows, because what would you complain about if they didn't have rankings that were wrong?
You're right.
There. It gets the conversation going. It gets people talking. That's why they do it.
It's fun. I'm here for all of it. Thank you to everyone who watches and listens our shenanigans every single week. If you're watching here on YouTube, let us know below in the comments your best bet for week number 13. I'm curious. I want to hear from y'all. And while you're here, please like this video if you enjoy this type of content. Plus, subscribe to the channel if you are new. And before we jump in, I did want to remind everybody about the Betting Pros Discord community. Looking to up your game in sports betting? Then join our exclusive sports betting Discord community at bettingpros.com/chat. Not only can you connect with some expert handicappers who will provide free picks for the NBA, the NFL, MLB, NHL, player props, live betting, and more, but now you can also participate in our weekly community picks, cast your vote, and see how your picks stack up against the experts and track your success today. All right, we've got 10 game previews to get to, and there's no bearing the lead here as we'll jump right into a top 5 matchup in Columbus, Ohio on Saturday afternoon. The second-ranked Ohio State Buckeyes have moved to 13.5-point favorites over the fifth-ranked Indiana Hoosiers. Indiana now starting to show slight value in our BP system. Curt Cignetti said the team has been, quote, refreshed, recharged, and is in full health coming off the bye. Ohio State, on the other hand, not so lucky. They already lost left tackle Josh Simmons for the season earlier. However, they'll now be without starting center Seth McLaughlin for the rest of the way after suffering a torn Achilles. That said, Terrell, are you smoking that pack of Sig Cignetti as nearly 2 touchdown dogs in this one?
I mean, Sig Cignetti could just go ahead and be a WWE manager with the promos that he's cutting in these press conferences about Ohio State. I mean, how do you not want to run through a brick wall for this guy? I just don't understand. Honestly, this comes to mindset. This game comes down to mindset. If you're one of those guys where you've been the underdog and you've had to fight and you've always been looked at as little brother loves Indiana, I'll let you know, but big brother oh, Big Brother loves Ohio State here. And they say that this Indiana team, no matter how good they are never going to be the level of Ohio State. I think that Indiana here with Kurt Signetti has been very, very good on offense. I think that the opportunity that they have here is really, really big for the program. He's been talking about this since he got on campus and throwing shots at Ohio State's way.
Yes.
He's had this game circled every single chance he gets. I would be so crushed if they get destroyed by Ohio State in this game. I would be so crushed. I'm almost tempted to bet it, Boggs. I'm almost tempted to just go ahead and bet it because I can't take
You want to
losing
win
money.
either way?
Yes, I get an emotional win or I get a financial win.
Yeah.
One or the other. Because if Cincinnati flops in this game, I mean, I want to tell everybody here to bet the money line. I want to say that Indiana just is about to secure their spot in the college football playoff in this game. But at the end of the day, despite all the criticisms that I have for Ohio State, but despite all the criticism I have at Ryan Day in particular, at Will Howard not being the quarterback that they really need, at the fact that this defense is a little leaky at times and really, really lets offenses really get after them, and if they don't get penetration up the middle, they're not going to be in the game. But man, Ohio State just finds a way to crush my dreams. And this, I have to look very, very inward this slate because there are a lot of big dogs that I just want to hammer, and they might not be in the game at all. I'm gonna hedge here. I'm gonna hedge my emotional attachment to Indiana, and I'm gonna take Ohio State. Because if Indiana wins, I mean,
off the bat.
Guys, if we lose this on Indiana and we lose the bet and the emotional attachment, I might not come back to the show next week. I might not be back here next week. Like, that is how afraid I am because I am so bought in on this Indiana team. Boggs, please talk me into the money line. Please talk me into the money line, Boggs.
I'm not going to talk you into the money line, but maybe I can talk you into the spread, just taking the points here. And the reason I like this is it's opening up towards Ohio State anyway, which is nice, but I think the biggest question in this game is, can the Indiana secondary stick with the playmakers at Ohio State, right? Jeremiah Smith, the Emeka Egbuka. Can they make Will Howard hold on to the ball long enough to let this front get at him? Because, not surprisingly, but it is pretty dramatic of a dip where Will Howard is not good against pressure. He's terrible against pressure. Indiana's been putting pressure on teams every single week. That's why you see these blowouts as they get up. The other team has to pass to catch up. They put pressure. They get picks. They get fourth down stops. They get third down stops. And like you said, Terrell, this is about mindset. It's about relentlessness. And we've seen this from Indiana all year long. So if the corners can stick with the big playmakers of Ohio State, slow them down, you're going to get Kamara, Carr, Tucker, these guys getting home and shaking up Will Howard. And, both these teams are top 5 in 10-plus yard plays allowed from scrimmage on defense. So they're both very good at keeping it in front of them and not getting burned deep. And that's huge for Indiana. That really sways towards Indiana. Now, they haven't played anyone near, we talk about strength of schedule and a weakness, right? One of the big narratives of this week is not only if Texas loses A&M, they're out. It's also if Indiana loses this game, they're out. Because their strength of schedule has been not so
that
hot.
Should not
now
be
that
the
we
case.
Look at it.
That
I
should
agree.
not be the case.
I agree, but the strength of schedule is not
Indiana.
good.
If Indiana's logo was a big yellow M, I promise you, they lose this game and they're still top 10 in the country.
I think they still
Easily.
might be. It depends on what the voters do, but that's neither here nor there. I think that this game stays low scoring and close, especially now that Seth McLaughlin is down and you're going to a backup center. Now, look, you have 4 stars backing up 5
He's
stars.
also the guy who was the starter the entire year last year, so he does have some familiarity in big spots already, which is a plus.
Right. So I think honestly it's going to be about limiting the big plays to damage Indiana. If they can do that, they can stick in this game. I'm not going to tell you they can win it. I'm not going to sit here and say put money on, bet it on the money line. But I'll take the points. It's 13.5. That is more than enough points for me to be happy taking Indiana. So I'm going to do it. maybe because everybody's rooting for Indiana, Ohio State wins by
We're
3
all
touchdowns.
on
Like
Indiana.
like
We
Terrell
hate
says.
big corporations. This is Ohio State. The big corporations that are trying to take the money out of your pockets. They're trying to overcharge you. That is Ohio State. That is Ryan Day. And this. Oh, you know what?
You're cutting a wrestling promo right now.
You know what?
I'm taking
Iowa,
the points. Give me the
Indiana,
points. Give me the Hoosiers until the
Come
wheels
on,
fall
bro.
off. It's what
Come
we
on,
said.
brother.
I'm
Come
telling
on.
you,
Smoke
the
that
Iowa
pack.
game. Okay, so the Iowa game before Oregon is the thing that really, because everything told me, oh yeah, this is the letdown. Because 100%, even though Michigan is weak, they're 100% looking ahead. 100% looking ahead to the Michigan game.
I don't know if this is a bigger game than the Michigan game because Michigan isn't good anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they haven't beat Michigan. Like, this is your
That's
chance
true.
to beat Michigan.
Here's my question, Boggs. Will this possibly open up even further, you think, or is 13.5 the best you're going to get without some type of boost in your back pocket?
I don't understand it because the money is still on the Indiana side and it's still opening towards Ohio State. And we had the injury, and now it hasn't moved since this injury to McLaughlin. So
yeah,
it's sticking right now. I kind of don't think it's going to move much from this point, but if it does, you'd think after a major injury to your starting center, who's the quarterback of the O-line, blah, 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 then I think it would move back towards Indiana. So I would say bet it now if you want the points.
Okay. Boggs and I will be...
Make it a sweep.
Let's go!
Let's go.
Man,
really...
look, it's really just because... If Indiana loses this, unfortunately, they're going to be out, and they shouldn't be out. This is everything Cignetti's been asking for, and Cignetti is a really good coach, man. Really good coach. Like I just have to assume he has a game plan ready, and the Big Ten are going to have to make the call. Like it's not going to be Ohio State. The Big Ten are going to have to make the call to the zebra guys on the field and say, hey, we need this team in the playoff.
And there's a chance, hey, if Indiana wins this game, they could be the number 1 ranked team in the country because you could argue going into Columbus is more impressive than what Oregon did on their own field out in Eugene. So great conversation there, guys. Let's shift gears to a city where a specific sequel film was shot. Any guess where a sequel movie in a franchise was shot?
I mean, anywhere.
Okay.
Like,
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like,
Miami. Miami's the city. And any
Bad
guesses
Boys.
on the movie? Oh, I didn't think about Bad Boys. That was also shot there, actually.
Oh, what? Oh, I really thought I knew it. As soon as you said Miami, Bad Boys. Okay.
Fast and Furious 2.
Oh, man.
Shot in Miami.
Yeah,
Is that
was
Too
a good
Fast,
one.
Too Furious?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay.
Yes, that
He
is
said
correct.
Fast and Furious 2. Uncultured
Well,
swine.
you know,
Electric
same-
Boogaloo.
same-
Uncultured swine.
Same thing. Yeah, that was really bad of me not even give you the city though. But the 11th ranked Miami Hurricanes, they have moved to 24.5 point favorites over the 4-5 Wake Forest Demon Deacons. No significant injuries for Wake, fortunately. Miami, they are hoping to get starting cornerback Damari Brown back after injury after he's been out since the season opener. The BP projections, they love the over, and they also give it one of the highest EV ratings on this entire slate. Bogman, is that still your play after this spread has ballooned up even further since our early lines episode?
I'm going to continue to not take Miami again. They've lost me enough money this year. Thank you, Terrell. I'm on your side now. I'm done taking Miami, laying huge lines. I do like the over still. I think just the defense has been so pathetic for Wake Forest all year. You know, we talked about 114th in scoring, 119th in total yardage defense. Miami needs this. They need confidence to springboard them going into the ACC championship game. And I think coming off a bye week and being, pissed off about that loss for 2 weeks, I think is going to provide this offense with enough fuel to do the heavy lifting here. And they've already put up 50 a couple times this year. They could easily do that against Wake Forest if everything goes right. And I think it will because Wake Forest is not good. So I will take the over. They'll probably let Wake score, though. They let every team score. And Hank Bachmeier is playing in this game. I know he's a little banged up, but more of it was just being benched in the last game. The guy is going to produce points on both sides. I feel like he'll get points for Wake Forest, but it'll also give you some turnovers and give the ball to Miami on a short field or maybe even some pick sixes. So I like the over here.
Boggs likes the over. Terrell, do you have a side for us?
Yeah. What? We're taking Wake. We're taking Wake in the points. We're not giving Miami all of these points. This Miami team doesn't cover this number. This is Mario Cristobal led team. 7-13-1 at home as a home favorite of double digits is Mario Cristobal. They do not cover this number, and it took a miracle game in Duke for them to do it against Duke. They haven't been able to do it
I
against
should have been off
anybody in
there.
the ACC.
That's where I should have jumped off the train, was when it took that
As
80
I told you,
yard pass.
that's as high.
Yeah.
That's as high as it's gonna be. It's never.
Yeah.
It's gonna come crashing down from there, and there it goes against Georgia Tech. I think that Wake is probably gonna keep this a little bit closer, just because how do you move on Miami's defense, because they're so good on the line of scrimmage and up the middle, is that you really, really attack them on the sides of the field and going towards the numbers. And so that's what Georgia Tech was able to do. They were able to run Jamal Haynes up the middle every now and then he make a big play, but they really took Haynes King threw the passes all to the sideline and really made that Miami defense stretch out and chase them sideline to sideline, and they just beat them to the numbers and went upfield, and that's how they were able to get a lot of their big plays to the outside. So I think that Wake Forest with Claiborne at running back can do a lot of the same thing. I think he's going to have a really big game if you're a prop bet better. I think he's somebody that can have a pretty big game in this one, and then throw outside and Bachmeier just get a little bit more shorter throws, a little bit more confidence as the game goes on. I think that Wake can put up points. I really do like your overplay, Boggs. I think that's probably the best play in this game, but there's no way I'm leaving double digits with Miami.
I think they could easily beat this spread, but I'm not betting it. They've let me down too many times.
Down in the swamp, number 9 Ole Miss has moved to a 10-point home road favorite over the 5-5 Gators. Don't look now. The Rebs are getting healthy. Standout wide receiver Trey Harris expected to play in this one. They're also potentially getting running back Logan Diggs, who will return for the first time this season. Lane Kiffin said this the first time all year long. Both the first and second string offensive line have been healthy at the same time, so continuity gaining up there for the Rebs. For Florida, linebacker Grayson Howard, he is questionable after missing last week, and hopefully we'll see more of running back Montrell Johnson. He only had 2 carries last week after returning from injury. BP projections, they're showing value on both the over and Ole Miss. Do you feel similar, Terrell?
I don't know. I think Florida's been playing some pretty good ball, especially when Lagway's been in the lineup. Like they've been relatively competitive. The game that they just weren't completely in at all was Texas, and they had a walk on. Like it was the walk on playing, and we were on Texas in that game because the walk on was playing. So I mean, I don't know. I don't think Florida is as bad. They're still home in the swamp. It's a little bit of a feeling of, hey, could this be a potential letdown spot? They got the big win against LSU last week. Looked really, really good. But in fact, I think that actually rolls over. This team is still 5-5, looking for a bowl win. And now, granted,
they got Florida State next week.
Yeah, you got Florida State last, so you still feel pretty good. But I think Napier understands that his seat was to the fire for a good portion of the season. I think he's just started to right the ship a little bit, and a good showing here could show the boosters and everybody in that organization that, hey, he's still the guy for the job. And this team is still pretty solid. I'm really leaning on the defense here just to contain Jackson Dart and make this an ugly, ugly game. So I think it's a little bit lower scoring. Give me Florida plus 10.5.
You going with Florida as well here, Boggs?
Nope, I can't do it. And look, I do think they've been better. They have been very impressive in this nice streak. And with Lagway, I think everything Terrell said is correct, right? Like they are much, much better with Lagway in this lineup. And he looked good. And if you had told me that Lagway played and didn't run once, I would have thought, okay, LSU is going to win by 20. But that just was not the case. But here's the thing is that LSU is like a middle-of-the-road SEC team, and I think Ole Miss are legit national title contenders. They beat Georgia. They lost to Kentucky. Bad loss there. But they have been clicking. They've been rolling downhill recently. They're coming off a bye in this game. And Lagway, even though he played well against LSU, he was still 13 of 26. He's way better off of play action than he is, sitting in the pocket and throwing. And if you try to run that play action stuff against Ole Miss, you're going to get your lunch eaten by that defensive line. So I don't have a lot of positivity towards Florida in this game. I think the positive things are you have your best quarterback playing and you're at home, which is strong. but it's just not enough to me. Anything under 13, I'm taking Ole Miss, especially with Trey Harris coming back. He's probably the best receiver in the country right now. So I just think Ole Miss is going to roll Florida. I don't think this one's going to be very close.
Any concern that Ole Miss lost to LSU?
Yeah, I mean, not really. I think that was look, they're college kids, right? So things can happen. It's hard to bet them, but I just think the way they're playing right now, the way they beat Arkansas, and they have an extra week to prep for this game. You give Lane Kiffin 2 weeks. I don't know, man. The Egg Bowl is not going to be a challenge for them. So I just think that there's nothing distracting them in this game. So they're going to roll Florida, I feel like.
Okay. All right. I'm not betting this game. Way too tight for me. But I appreciate you guys being split on this decision. Before we keep it moving, don't forget to join our college football podcast group, sync your picks, or use the quick pick feature in the BettingPros sports betting app and get a chance to win some free prizes. You can elevate your betting strategy and join the conversation today at bettingpros.com/college. In the 3:30 slate, we have the third-ranked Texas Longhorns, who remain 20.5-point favorites over the 4-6 Kentucky Wildcats. Texas, they'll be without potentially edge Colton Vasquez and linebacker Morris Blackwell. They were out last week. We're not sure if they'll be back here this week. They did fail to cover against Arkansas in that game. Kentucky, they got bad news this week. They'll be without their standout linebacker De'Aaron Johnson for the rest of the season after missing the 2 previous games. Also questionable for the Wildcats, starting right tackle Gerald Mincey, second leading wide receiver Baron Brown, and starting middle linebacker Jamin Dumas-Johnson. With that, BP projections is only showing value on the under of this 47.5-point total. What do you think, Bogman? We got a couple banged up teams in the SEC. Who comes out on top of the line here?
A couple of those players have the Texas flu, huh? I get it, but look, you cannot take Texas with the way their offense has been playing to lay 21 points, in my opinion. I can't do it. The under is the best play here because Texas still has the best defense in the country. Kentucky has one of the worst offenses in the country. I think the way that Texas offense has been playing, the way that Quinn Ewers has been putting the ball in harm's way, I'm not going to trust them to lay 3 touchdowns against many teams at all. We've also seen Kentucky bow up. They should have beat Georgia. If they didn't go for that cowardly punt, if they had gone for it to convert, they should have won that game. They beat Ole Miss. Like Stoops gets these guys up to play in these big games. So I do think Kentucky will come out. I think it will be a competitive first half, but I think the under is the safest bet here. Now, if gun to my head, if I had to make a pick, I would take Texas because Kentucky's offense has been so pathetic, but Kentucky's defense isn't. I think their defense is pretty strong. So I know Texas defense is strong. So let's take the under. That's the best bet in this game.
Terrell, what do you think?
I mean, I'm just shocked that Boggs came in here and B-Rabbit ethered me like on 8 Mile. He took everything I was going to say and threw it back at me, and now I'm over here choking. I don't know what to say. Like, he took the words out of my mouth. We can't take Texas in this spot. How do we lay these points with Texas? I will just
It's also look ahead, A&M next week. So
I would just like to add that Texas is 0-3 ATS against teams that have their starting quarterback in the SEC. Just throw that in there as well. 0-3 ATS against teams with actually playing with their starting quarterback. So good system play here for Kentucky on that note. And I mean, for me, he said everything. Quentin Ewers, I can't trust him consistently, and I think the Kentucky defense, especially when Stoops gets them up, they get up for games like this. Like we saw the Ole Miss game. They can get up on the road. We know that's possible for them to have a really, really good showing. And I think in this opportunity, because Boggs, you're a Texas fan. You know there's been times where y'all have had good seasons at the end of the year. It's just been one random one that's come out of nowhere.
Yeah, that was last year. I mean, obviously Washington beat us. We made the playoffs still. But losing to Oklahoma out of nowhere was weird. It was, you know, Oklahoma's a rivalry game, all that blah, blah, blah. But they were up in that game. The difference this year has been like those games where Texas is up. It doesn't look like a competition. They've been winning those. And in the past, they choke all the way through and lose. Mm-hmm. So it happened against Vandy. That, like, I really don't think the the final score was in question against Vandy. If you watch the game against Arkansas, they dominated Arkansas. Arkansas didn't have a good game. They couldn't punch it in. They weren't converting. They were turning the ball over on occasion. So, it's the Texas offense is not clicking on all cylinders. I think Mississippi is. That's why I'll lay the points with them. But Texas is not. And 21 points against anybody in the SEC is almost too many. So
this is going to be one of the games where you're going to have a play on somebody's going to have a play on Texas money line. Somebody's going to have a play on Kentucky money line. The spread is 21.5. The person that has Texas money line is going to be sweating way harder than the person that has Kentucky money line. I'm going to say that right now.
This is either going to be 17-14 or 52-3. That is going to be the swing in this game. It's going to be either super tight and low scoring or Texas just beats the crap out of Kentucky.
Terrell, so you're taking Kentucky here, horns down?
Yeah, all over Kentucky here. Starting quarterback, SEC, playing against Texas. Let's go.
You didn't say horns down, Seth. You said that. But
horns down.
There we go. One
hey, it's
for the
been
road.
horns down ever since they did Shaka Smart dirty.
It will be just above freezing in Minneapolis for when the 4th-ranked Penn State Nittany Lions come to town to face those Golden Gophers. I thought I was going to be sneaky earlier in the week, getting State as an 11.5-point favorite. Now they have actually moved to 11-point favorites at some shops. There is no significant injuries on either side of the ball here. BP projections, they are showing value on the 45-point over, but they think this line is right on the mark. Terrell, are you riding with me and the entire Nittany Lion Nation in this one?
No. No way. Not on the road on the second game of a back-to-back road spot. That is literally one of the trappiest spots in college football, and that's why teams, especially a lot of these Power 5 teams like Bama, like Ohio State, they don't schedule back-to-back road spots because it is a spot that gets these kids tripped up. And so if you look at it here, we have, since 2021, teams that are on the second game of a back-to-back road spot laying double digits are 32, 47, and 140% against the spread. Hasn't been good trying to cover a big number. They've been winning the game, but they haven't been winning them by margin. And I think this is another spot where PJ Fleck can get his team up coming for a Penn State, that team that is 4th in the country coming into Minneapolis to play ball. I think that the defense is live. They're able to fly around the field, and they're very opportunative. And then you have the Max Brosmer, who's been playing pretty solid football, and I think when PJ Fleck gives him a really, really solid game plan and they get up for these big spots, he's shown that he's able to lead this team to some wins. They're over here bowl eligible this season. I think that they still have a way that they can muck up Penn State's season by just making this a little bit closer than they would like. And then I'm sorry, man. I just don't think Drew's a good quarterback. At the end of the day. I'm just so out on Drew. Oh, man, I hope the Giants do not look his way at all.
I mean, it's tough. Obviously, he's not the gunslinger we all thought he was going to be coming in as the top overall prospect. So there is definitely some letdown there. They've built a good offense around him, but it's really more based on those running backs and Tyler Warren on some different things he's doing out of the backfield under center as well. So that's a fair analysis. It's a fair point there. I just think, Bogman, that this defense for Penn State is suffocating, and then their offense is miles ahead of Minnesota.
Yeah, I don't think the offense is miles ahead, but I do love this Penn State defense, especially the defensive line. And by the way, Terrell, you know that the Giants are drafting Cam Ward for your Miami pennants. Hating Miami the whole year, and then they're going to go take Cam Ward. It's exactly what's going to happen. But look, in my opinion, Minnesota is going to be outmatched on offense against this Penn State defense. Minnesota has NFL-level offensive tackles, right? But Penn State has Abdul Carter. 8 sacks, are tied for 6th in the country. They have Danny Dennis Sutton, who is 2nd in the country in QB hits. Interior defensive lineman Zane Durant has a top 20 pass rush grade on PFF for interior defensive linemen. Wow. So this defensive line is going to get after Max Brosmer. I like the under. The under is my play in this game all day. You don't have to pick a side that way. It's 45.5. So I just think that we've seen Penn State in big games not put up as many points. Mm-hmm. I think the big thing is, are they going to be able to run successfully against Minnesota? I don't think so on offense, that it's going to be great. I think this is going to be a bit of a slugfest. So let's just rely on both defenses in the cold here. That's what I like. So I'll go with the under.
I know
This is
your
a
Giants.
classic Big Ten under spot, by the way.
I know your Giants. They need a quarterback, Terrell, now after benching Daniel Jones. But Abdul Carter, that's the guy you want. I think in the
That
first
is where
10
you're
picks.
wrong, Seth. That is where you're wrong.
The
And
Giants have a good defensive line.
I'm just saying that he said something there, and I just have to point it out. You said that we need a new quarterback after benching Daniel Jones. We needed a new quarterback when Daniel Jones was in the lineup. So I don't even know why after benching. No, we needed one.
Yeah, very, very true. I will say last thing on Penn State here. They played them 2 years ago in 2022. Granted, that was in Happy Valley in front of the Penn State fans. But I think this Penn State team is way better than that Penn State team that we were having Sean Clifford run. Like, we can talk all the crap we won on Drew Aller, but yeah, we were dealing with Sean Clifford. For sure. I had front row tickets to that every single home game for 3 years. Man. So it was
I just threw this paper ball in the garbage can instead of throwing it in the trash can. Yeah, 100%.
Over in Tempe, Arizona, the 21st ranked Sun Devils, they remain a 3.5-point favorite against the 14th ranked BYU Cougars. Despite these teams trending in two opposite directions as of late, the projections actually showing slight value on the Cougs and the over of this 48.5-point total. Arizona State, they are healthy. They're hoping Cam Scabado can be a little more efficient this week. Averaged just 2.9 yards per carry on 25 carries last week after coming back from injury. Was okay in the passing game, but BYU, they should be fully healthy for this game. With that said, Bogman, is it time to get back with BYU, who cashed us a lot of tickets earlier this year? We can't forget that. The times were good. The times were fun out there in Provo.
Yeah, but we broke up. Well, I'm not.
You blocked them. You blocked them on
I blocked
Instagram.
them on everything. No more. That's the last time. I'm done with it. So for me, look, I like ASU in this game. My brain says take the over. So I like the over as well. ASU doesn't blitz well. And Retzlaff is way better in a clean pocket. So I do think that BYU will be able to move the ball a little bit. But Sam Levitt has been slinging it. They put up 42 in Oklahoma State, 34 in UCF, only 24 on the road against K-State. But they had 398 yards in that game. The offensive improvements, the lack of blitzing, make this feel like a shootout to me. And in a shootout, I'll take the home team here in ASU. I also think these teams are kind of going in opposite directions right now. ASU is playing their best ball. BYU is not playing their best ball right now. So it doesn't mean that that's what it's, how it's going to work, but the over is my favorite play in this game because right now it's currently at 48.5. Our BP system is showing, closer to the mid 50s in this one. Mm-hmm. And 27, 24, 28, 21, that gets us home in this game. So I still like the Sun Devils because BYU is not playing their best football, but the over is starting to become my favorite bet in this game.
Okay. Terrell, how do you feel about it?
Yeah, I like the Sun Devils here. Sam Levitt's been playing really good ball. This Arizona State team has been rolling ever since the corpse of Jeff Sims went back to being QB2. And I think that this is a really, really good spot where Levitt hasn't been turning the ball over. And that is where BYU had got away with a lot of things earlier in the season because the BYU defense was so active turning the ball over. The special teams was so active getting block punts and punt return touchdowns and all of that and just aiding the offense and putting points on the board or putting them in good situations to put points on the board. I think Arizona State's defense is going to be pretty solid. They're not going to allow the offense to just sit there, and the offense isn't going to put the other offense in favorable situations. I don't see Levitt turning the ball over on his own side of the field multiple times, and that's what BYU did earlier on in the season to get where they were at. And so I think this is a good point where teams have just figured out this BYU team. Like, that's ultimately what it is. They came in with a new philosophy, and they kicked a bunch of teams' butt earlier in the year, and now we're getting to the end of the season, and they figured them out, and they've gotten to a point where the offense is stagnant. So, yeah, I'm on Arizona State here. I think that the complete dynamic of the Big 12 has shifted, and we're on our way. We're going to have a Rocco Beck and Colorado Buffs little championship game. Well, maybe we'll see what Les Leopold has to say about it, but we could possibly have a nice Buffs versus Rocco Bet championship game here.
Okay, well, let's talk about that, and we'll finish off the 3:30 slate in Arrowhead Stadium, where the 16th ranked Colorado Buffs remain a 2.5-point favorite over the frisky Kansas Jayhawks. Kansas' second leading wide receiver, Lawrence Allen, he's questionable for this one. Colorado's wide receiver, Jimmy Horn Jr., who's kind of fallen into 4 on this wide receiver depth chart, he's also questionable after missing last week's contest, as is starting defensive tackle Shane Cokes and running back 3 Micah Welsh for Colorado. They're also questionable. BP projections are telling us that if we want to get invested in this game, it should be on the over. But with Colorado's strength being their passing game, Kansas's weakness being their secondary, I could not help myself but back the Buffs. Is that where you're going here as well, Terrell?
Yeah.
Come with us. Come
Lance
on.
Leopold is a great coach, man. I'm trying to tell you, he is a great coach, and I
Then
think
bet the over.
I think the over is actually a pretty good play, but because I think that Colorado's gonna have an issue. And the issue is that when Colorado in this streak has been playing really, really well, and that defense has been great, and they've been so good against the run, but when they can't stop the run, they get gashed, and it makes it so much easier in the passing game. The running game clearly takes away clock, and Shedeur Sanders is not on the field as much, and so that hinders the offense a little bit. I mean, we saw Giddens for Kansas State light this team up in their last loss, and I think that Devin Neal can do the same thing over here for Kansas. I think that Lance Leopold in his offense and with Jalen Daniels, they can really, really put up a really good game plan to just make this a shootout and muck this game up. It's 3. I would love, if I saw a 3.5, I mean, I would absolutely love it. But at 3, I'm willing to take the Kansas side and say that we're closer to Kansas securing and getting closer to securing a bowl game. And we get the final letdown spot for Colorado. Colorado can lose this game and still make the Big 12 championship game. So I think Kansas has a lot more to play for. I just trust Leopold as a coach here, where he's going to go out here and he's going to put up a really good game plan and just keep them constantly in the game. Maybe this is an overtime game and Colorado wins by 6. But I think this is closer to a 3.2-point game with potential on Kansas winning outright.
Boggs, we got one for Colorado, one for Kansas. What will it be?
It's Colorado for me. And look, I love Kansas, and I think Leopold is a great coach. I think everything that Terrell said is correct. But also, Kansas came in. They don't have a lot of against the spread wins, so it doesn't look good. But they were completely overrated to start the season. Jalen Daniels was having issues. They're turning the ball over, and they lost a bunch of games, right? Not only in the real record, but also against the spread because they were favored in a lot of those games. So they not only did they not win, they also lost people a bunch of money. So not a lot of people were on Kansas. Now that they finally had some time, things are clicking, the offense looks good, the defense is still miserable. And my whole thing last week was I was all over Utah and the under in that game against Colorado, and Colorado just went out and beat them up and down the field. That's the best defense in the Big 12 by a stretch. Houston's pretty solid too, but they have no offense, so it doesn't help their defense. But the best defense in the Big 12 by a stretch is Utah, and they beat them up and down the field. Maybe that's Utah letting one loss turn into 2. I don't know. But Shedeur Sanders is going to pick this Kansas defense apart. I don't think that is a question. I don't know if they go a drive without points here against Kansas. So I like the over, but I like Colorado. I think this fun Kansas run comes to an end in this game. I think this is it. So give me the Buffs.
Okay. And before we continue, I did want to tell you about Fast Break Bets. If you like betting on basketball, well, then join host Terrell Furman on the Fast Break Bets podcast. It's your daily dose of basketball betting in 15 minutes or less. Tune in every single day for your rapid-fire fix of all things basketball, from the W to the association to college basketball and more. Check out the Fast Break Bets podcast on the BettingPros YouTube channel or wherever you listen to your podcasts. We'll open up the primetime slate in Yankee Stadium, where Notre Dame has shrunk to a 14.5-point favorite. Notre Dame is expected to have wide receiver Jaden Greathouse active after exiting early last week against Virginia. Saw some people asking about that on Twitter. However, starting nose tackle Howard Cross and running back 4 Devin Ford, they are questionable. Army is healthy across the board. Bogman, I take it the Black Knights were seeing some serious money to come in for this spread to shrink by 2 points. Did I miss my chance to get them closer to 17, or could this maybe open back up?
You don't want them either way, so you didn't miss anything. We saw this movie before. We saw Navy play Notre Dame, a similar offense. It is different. Navy passes more, right? Some of the plays are different, but the basic formula is the same. Now, Howard Cross is a big loss for Notre Dame in this game. I just don't think it matters. The same exact thing that we saw with Navy. Navy had been rolling people, but they played a terrible strength of schedule. Then they see Notre Dame, and they get demolished. It's the same story. Army strength of schedule, we talked about this on Monday. Seth is a 120, 123, somewhere in that neighborhood. It was bad. It was one of the worst strength of schedules in the country here. So I don't think that there's any way that Army is really competitive in this game. Maybe they beat the spread. The spread is big, but I don't think that they're competitive. I think Notre Dame wins this one going away. They have too many good athletes to stay still against this defense. I don't think that's going to happen. And their defense, they demolished Navy when they played the same style of offense. So we've seen this movie before. Respect to Army for what they've done. They've had a great season, but I think the fun stops here. They can still win the American or whatever, but I think Notre Dame is going to roll them.
Terrell, I have so many thoughts on this game. Like one,
yes,
Army.
Come on, let's talk about it.
Well, one, Army, when we saw Navy played this Notre Dame team, there were still big plays for Navy out of that triple option. I think we see something similar for Army. So I'm tempted to bet the over at 44.5, but at the same time, these are two of the top defenses in the nation if you're looking at the metrics. So I don't know. My head's spinning on this one. Is there a number that you could get to that you would bet Army, or would you bet it now, or would you take one of these totals?
No, I take Army now. So we have to, first of all, Army has a quarterback. His name is Bryson Daly. Handles business. This is a guy that you want to back. He handles business. Bryson Daly. I mean, triple option. You have a week to prepare for the triple option, and it catches a lot of people off guard, no matter how good you think your defense
But they've already
are.
played Navy, Terrell.
No, Navy doesn't run a triple option. Whatever adjusted triple option they have going on where they're passing the football, that is not the triple option. I don't want to see one pass in this game from Army.
They passed it four times last week against North Texas.
We don't need it.
How many points did they
do
score?
not need it. We do not need a pass in this game.
Like
Army
10,
has
14.
the run schemes. They have the ability where they can actually get this done without passing the football. And I think that scheme of the triple option catches so many teams off guard when they play a really, really good triple option team. And that's what I think the difference is between Army and Navy. I think that Navy is I wouldn't even say they're a triple option team. They're a 2.5 option team. And I think that's not good enough. But the triple option with Navy and their defense is actually able to stop the pass, and that hasn't been able to be said for Army defenses in the past. Like, at the end of the day, I know North Texas isn't a good squad, but that is an offense that could still light you up in the passing game, and they shut them down. So I think that here in this spot, the FBS Independent Bowl, yeah, absolutely. They're going to go out there. They're going to ball this game in Yankee Stadium. So I don't know how I feel necessarily towards the total, but I just think that somehow, some way, Army's going to be in this game, and it's going to be because the triple option, they just don't have any way to guard it, and they're going to be able to move the football on them. They're going to kill clock, take long possessions, and be able to put points on the board at the end. So, yeah, I don't think Notre Dame's going to be as good as everybody thinks in this one. I'm on Army.
I'll say this, like there's a glimmer of hope for Army in this game for sure, because they haven't played a high-level team. So you don't know, are they really a team that should be ranked? And if they go in and compete with Notre Dame, I think they should be. And
if they win, they're in the playoff.
Oh, for sure, yes.
If they win, they're in the playoff.
Yep, I agree with that, because I think they're going to beat Navy too. So I think that Army is a good squad, but I just don't. I think the one time that Notre Dame got beat was because they couldn't move the ball. I just don't think Army has enough on defense. I know they've been good. North Texas is not Notre Dame. I think they're going to get beat at the line of scrimmage both ways. So that's why I'm on Notre Dame here.
Yeah. Well, I love America, so I'm going to back America's team
whatever.
here with
Whatever.
Terrell. I'm with you, buddy. In Auburn, the 4-6 Tigers, they are...
Newsflash, Boggs doesn't love America.
Yeah. Terrorist Boggs. Here come the memes.
In Auburn, the 4-6 Tigers are still hanging out there as 2.5-point dogs against the 15th-ranked Texas A&M Aggies. Mike Elko's man will be without the service of third leading wide receiver Cyrus Allen for the remainder of the season after suffering an arm injury. They also lost their leading rusher a few weeks ago, Le'Veon Moss, for the season, and starting left guard Chase Basantis also questionable. Auburn's most notable injury is safety Caleb Wooden, who is questionable after missing last week's game. BP projections, they're showing some expected value on the over, but I really want no part of this game. Terrell, are you going to be betting this matchup at all?
Oh, well, I'm not taking the over. But, I mean, I am one who thinks Auburn is bad. I just don't think Auburn is any good. And Texas A&M, I mean, they're still in this thing. They're not out of this yet. Like, they're still in this, and there's a way more on the Texas A&M side. I mean, yeah, Auburn is sitting there like, oh, I guess you can technically make a bowl if you tighten this up and get a win, but I just don't think that Auburn has enough offense to be able to do anything. I mean, what are we impressed by these two teams playing their SEC rivals in ULM and freaking New Mexico State last week?
The Cupcakes.
New Mexico State. Yeah. New Mexico State is in the SEC. I don't care what nobody says. They play SEC teams every year. They're in SEC.
They like SEC money.
Shout out to Diego Pavia when he was hooping for New Mexico State. But yeah, man, I'm all over Texas A&M here. I don't trust this Auburn team. I don't think they're that good. Last time we saw them in conference, he took a L to Diego Pavia, as figured, and I think this is more of Mike Elko saying, hey, we're going to be a force here in the SEC. We're going to compete, and we're going to see ourselves at the top of the conference every year. I think they handle business here on the road against Auburn.
Bogman, how do you feel about this one? Because I just can't trust A&M anymore after what they've done to me this season. Do you feel differently without Le'Veon Moss, without Cyrus Allen? They're banged up, and we know we're going to see a lot of khakis on the sideline and in the stands for Auburn. A lot of khakis, man. A lot of polos. A lot of striped polos that night.
Yeah, I'm with Terrell. I cannot trust Auburn at all in Hugh Freeze. I mean, I don't trust A&M either, so I don't think either team is trustworthy in this game. So this will not be in my best bets. I'm not betting this. And I think we still have some questions with A&M. Are they really good, right? I think they might be really good, and if they win this game and beat Texas, they're probably going to the playoff, right? So maybe they're still a really good team. I think they're not. I think they're more like towards LSU in the middle of the pack in the SEC, but I do think they're better than Auburn here. So for me, it's just, they kicked a field goal to make it a 2-score game, against Mississippi State. Late. They had the big comeback win against LSU, A&M did. They got rolled over by South Carolina, and then they played a cupcake, right? So I just don't know where A&M is specifically with the injury to Le'Veon Moss. I just have zero trust in Auburn. Sure, they beat Kentucky, but they didn't compete, again, they didn't have a competitive game against ULM. The look-ahead angle is null because both these teams are playing their rival next week. The Iron Bowl is also next week. So A&M is playing Texas, so I don't think that's an angle for any team that is worth more than once. Maybe if you want to say the, Mike Elko thing of we're solely concentrated on Texas, I mean Auburn. If you guys saw that, I don't know if you saw that in his press conference. But,
no.
Yeah, he had the Freudian slip there a little bit.
I mean, if there was ever a team looking ahead.
Yeah, but also, Auburn Super Bowl is next week when they play Alabama, so they are easily looking ahead as well. I'll take A&M in this game, but I hate it, so I'm going to stay away.
Okay. Let's round out the show in Norman, Oklahoma, where there are still tickets available for the 7th-ranked Alabama Crimson Tide, favored by 13.5 over the 5-5 Sooners. Brent Venables hopes to get running back 2 Gavin Sawchuk back from injury this week. The status of running back 1 Javonte Barnes also up in the air for Oklahoma. The Sooners wide receiver room at least getting healthy after they've been banged up for most of the year. Bama starting safety Keon Saab, he will be out for the rest of the year, but he's kind of been in and out of the lineup all season already. BP projections prefer the over, but this is another spot I can't but help get invested with the heavy favorite. I'm rolling Tide here. Bogman, are you sharing that same sentiment with me?
Yeah, it has to be. Oklahoma sucks. I mean, even in this game where they should have beat Missouri, they were not good on offense. They had 257 total yards. They were 5 of 15 on third downs. If Bama has shown any weakness on defense, it's in the secondary, and OU can't pass. So they still have injured wide receivers as well. I mean, just nothing looks good for Oklahoma this year. Bama is playing better football right now. I guess if you want to give Oklahoma something, they're at home, and maybe this is a look-ahead spot for Bama with Auburn coming next week. So maybe they find something that they've been looking for all year, and it just happens to be in this game against Alabama, but there's no way in hell I would bet it. So roll Tide, lay the points, beat OU.
Roll Tide. You rolling with us as well, Terrell?
I don't give a piss about nothing but the Tide. Nothing but the Tide, baby. Yeah, I'm rolling Roll Tide here, man. I'm with Bobs. I don't trust Oklahoma. I think Venables is out of his. It's really, the injuries were really, really big for them all year, and they never got over that. And I think even with the injuries coming back, now they don't have the cohesion of those players consistently playing, knowing the offense, being locked in, and everything they have going on. And this Alabama team is rolling right now, and they have one thing on their mind, and it's making the playoff and giving themselves the best opportunity to succeed, and trying to figure out where they see their fate now with the loss to Tennessee. And that's really the thing that almost made me go Oklahoma, is the fact that I remember the second half of that Tennessee game and Alabama just completely melting down and giving Tennessee an additional win there. But
OU's defense is legit. They have a legit defense, so
yeah.
If they can get to Milroe, maybe that's an issue, but I don't see it happening.
I don't know if they can get to 10 points, man.
Yeah,
it's been bad in conference with the scoring of points, and I mean, maybe it's the last game that we saw was the Mizzou game, and a game that they had control of and just kind of gave away at the end, and made probably one of the worst bets for anybody that was betting OU. Luckily, we bet Mizzou.
Bad beat,
a horrible beat. Yeah, I'm going Alabama, man. Can't bet teams like that.
It feels like Alabama's kind of figured out what Jalen Milroe really is. Kind of like an Anthony Richardson clone, if you would. A guy who should be having 10 rushes a game, and also give him the ball to throw it deep. Like, the guy's got a cannon on it. They're kind of figuring out, like, hey, maybe the precision passing game just isn't our strength. And yeah, so I like them. I like them, honestly, to make a run here deep into the playoffs. So I'm excited for that. I'm excited to break it all down with you guys along the way. And that's going to do it for us on the Betting Pros College Football Show today. Thank you all so much for watching. Boggs, he's going to be back later in the week with some best bets and some player props. We'll also be a day earlier next week on this episode, so you can make sure you catch that right before your Thanksgiving dinner. Until then, please like this video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe to the Betting Pros YouTube channel and podcast feed. Plus, download the Betting Pros app. For Scott Bogman, I'm Seth Woolcock. Take care, y'all.